I did so much marketing that other marketing companies called me and says, why are you everywhere? We don't have any leads. Like, you have to stop marketing. Swear to God.
All right. Hey, welcome to episode 246. I have for sure one of the leaders in SEO and digital marketing, and for sure one of the leaders in local SEO, Eldar Cohen. So we're gonna get into this episode here with Eldar, and we're gonna start off by Eldar telling us how he got involved in the industry, a little bit of his personal background, and then we're gonna talk a lot about uh, local search and AI, and then this is what you really want to stick around for is his tool, Local Dominator. I'm a new convert from Bright Local into Local Dominator, but Eldar, take it away. Let's hear your story, bud.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bob. I appreciate that. So it's first, it's exciting to be here, and you can probably see it in my smile. I'm excited. I'm thrilled. I'm humbled to be here, and I want to take this moment and an opportunity, and if I can touch somebody with my story and the way things have happened to me from literally sleeping in a two-bedroom apartment with literally, seven other people at a time to now being, a big agency owner, local dominator, multiple home service business, and others of ventures. And if I can kind of share this with somebody and somebody will, will take action on that, then, that would be my mission accomplished for today. That would be the best thing. So kind of going back, I won't take you too long, but I will share that for a good while, at some point of my life, if I fast forward to my adult life, after I was done with the military and some other stuff, I kind of found myself like a lot of 20 years old that didn't really know what I want to do with myself. It was kind of late. It was a little late 20s, kind of mid late 20s. I got to Arizona. It was 2013 when I got to Arizona. I got to 20 Arizona 2013, and I was like kind of looking for what to do with myself, which is kind of crazy. I had some other stuff. I was renting cars. Like I was doing this thing with Toro. I had kiosks. I had like kiosks in the mall. I was in retail. I was, doing some online shopping stuff. I had a really nice eBay store, but I kind of wanted something new. And it all started when one day one of my buddies called me and he was like, "Hey, I want to do some locksmith. Can you help me get some leads?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Let me see." What happened is that, I was building websites since I was a kid. And, I had this little touch, and I'm a little dork. So I was always on a computer. I knew how to do all those things. I couldn't easily understand how things are working. Long story short, I got this website for my buddy, and things were working really well. Now back then, imagine that you were just doing AdWords campaign, and holy behold, the leads are flowing in, right? So it's fairly easy. That thing kind of moved to another buddy that heard about that. So that guy reached out to me, and he was like, "Hey, I want you to help me to get some leads for the garage door business that I have in Chicago." And I was like, "Look, I'll do a little deal with you. You're going to help me to learn the garage door business and the trade. And in return, I'm going to build a website and I'm going to help you to get leads." And this is what I did. So I got him back. I got him flew to Arizona. I got a flight to Arizona. And what happened is, like, for about a month, he was working with me. He was teaching me how to how to become a garage door technician, how to replace springs. What do you do when a door falls off the track? Now, I'm a little dorky in a way. Like, I'm a computer guy, but I'm also very in love with labor. I love working with my hands. Like, I can build anything. Just give me a box of screws and a few tools. So that's kind of how some of those things happen. So what happened is, I was doing that, and then I built, a lead generation for him. Now I was in Arizona, and I needed to do the same for myself. First thing I did, I tried some agencies. That's the first thing I did. I was like, I don't want to do this on my own, although I know how to. Let me see if I can hire somebody so I can, have more leverage. That's my belief. You always have to have leverage. That didn't end up very well. Unfortunately, everybody that I hired, it was two people if I remember correctly, didn't didn't do what I was expected from them to do. And I'm a guy that is very passionate about what I do. If you give me a task, like you shouldn't give me a task because I'm going to devote everything I can to complete that task. And I kid you not, I'll share a little inside story here. The other day, it was 1 a.m. after me and somebody have worked for like since 10 a.m. that day. So like 13, 14 hours a day. I drop him home. And then as I drop him home, he gave me a challenge. Me being me, I was like, oh, I gotta figure out this challenge. Got back home, worked for about an hour, slept for 4 hours, woke up, did the whole thing in 24 hours with a few hours of sleep. What I'm saying is, when I'm passionate about something, I try to get it done and go all in. So that's also what happened there. So on and on and on. What happened is, now I'm a garage door technician. I wasn't happy with the leads and the and the things that I got from those marketing agencies. And I figure out I have to do this on my own. That was the thing. I have to do this thing on my own. Then I started. I built one website, did another one. Nothing happened for a few months, and then boom, popped, boom, popped, boom, popped, popped, pop, pop. Crazy. I got to a point in Arizona, and I kid you not, it was way too much for the market what I did because I'm an extremist. If I do something, I do it all the fuck way. Like, so what happened is I did so much marketing that other marketing companies called me and says, "Why are you everywhere? We don't have any leads. Like, you have to stop marketing." Swear to God, it was insane. I was everywhere, no matter what. And I did the same, by the way, with Local Wit. I had people telling me, dude, every time I go to the toilet, I see your ad, I see your Facebook, I see a post, I see this, no matter what I do. And we'll talk about this in a second, how we can, do those things. So that was like a wildfire. And my thing was that I was working as a technician on my own. And then at some point, somebody in Dallas was like, hey, can you do this for me too? Boom, my first client. It was amazing. He's still ranking and still dominating there, which is awesome. So that's how I end up with my first client. And I was still working as a garage door technician. I was working as a technician from usually Friday to Sunday, just a weekend. And then during the week, I would do like online work, agency work, mainly for myself and that one guy. And I didn't have any ambition to start an agency. I was loving it. I was like, I was young, like, my 30s, like late 20s, early 30s or so. And, I was making so much money because, hey, I do my own jobs, my own leads. And if you go to a house and you get $3, $4, $5,000 a job, you pocket like 70% out of that. So I was like super happy. That's why I was doing it for 3 days a week. And midweek, I would just I was outsourcing my job. So I would lose them. And I didn't want to work during the week because there's traffic, different things. And that was my thing. So long story short, one day, we'll never forget it. That day have changed a lot. There was a few time steps in my life that have changed me. I got to this guy's house. It was crazy. I drove through one gated gate. Then there was another gate into his property. And I'm like, damn. Now I've been in some really nice houses in Arizona, like Scottsdale and the mountains and stuff, but not like that. The guy was on a whole new level. He literally had like the whole mountain for himself. Like people were in this little community, and the guy was like in this community. I mean, like unproportioned. Get it, a guy. Huge garage, 10-foot garage, massive. As a technician, you don't want to work with those. Like, you want the easy stuff, right? I'm working, sweating, grease all over my hand. I look like nobody want to talk to me. Like I look like nobody want me to even walk in their house. Look like drain sweat. Arizona gets super freaking hot at summertime. Imagine garages. Anyway, so I'm there on this 8-foot ladder, something trying to reach like his springs at the 10 feet high and whatnot. And the guy's like, hey, dude, who did your website? So I'm like there looking like that, trying like hold the tension of the spring so it won't flip on my face. Like, I did that. Hold on, give me a second. And the guy's like, come here. Just get down. I was like, sure, okay, what happened? I was like, fuck, did I do something wrong? Like, is everything busted here? Now, sometimes those people, not necessarily those, but sometimes people at different levels, they have different things. Sometimes they're not happy with something. I thought there's something wrong. They're very picky, as they should. Like, I want to talk to you. Let's go to the kitchen. All right. Oh, I thought this was already good, right? He didn't kick me out, so something is good to come out. We're sitting in his kitchen. The guy had dementia. He was maybe a few years older than me. He was early 30s too. And I remember I was sitting on his like bar stools. He had a huge like bar for his kitchen. Oh, like that marble thing. Like as it, I at that time I was like, damn, like that's where I want to be, you know? So the guy says, you have to stop. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, look, what you're doing right now, you're wasting your talent. If you were able to do this type of website, got me to call you, you should not be doing garage. And I was looking, I was like, why? Like, I'm making money. You're going to pay me, right? That was my thought. I was like, you're going to pay me a little bit. Like, this is good money for me. And he said, it's not about just the money, it's about the leverage. When you are working on this garage, sweating, you can't get money from other things. You don't have leverage in order to do other things, and you're very limited. You think you're making good money, you don't know what's out there with the skills that you have. Anyway, I got home, and that got me thinking. That really got me thinking. That night, I think things have changed for me from having that mindset where I'm going to do the garage, my mindset have changed dramatically into how can I add leverage? How can I scale this thing really, really good? And how I can make myself to be at a point in life where it's more lucrative. I don't have to do hard labor. I can do it if I want to, but I don't have to. And I can, enjoy leverage and have like more white collar business. And this is where things have really dramatically changed for me. And I started, more and more to get into it and do that shift and do that shift. And I started an agency. I will share this. That agency wasn't good. We had so many challenges because sometimes you have to learn, right? My name was bad. Like the agency name was really bad. I didn't know how to structure it. I didn't know how to position myself, but I was able to get a little bit of clients, a little bit of clients, a little bit of clients. And I was still doing this garage in a way. I was still like dealing with those things, but I migrated to the agency, but 80%, not 100%. And things have really started to change to that 100%, uh, you know, around 2019 or so, right at the beginning of COVID, where I decided to flip everything around and really, really focus on agency. This is where I looked at my agency and I said, what am I doing wrong? Why I don't have leads pouring into my agency? Like, why am I not doing work? Like, why I'm not doing well as I wanted? I had about 15 clients. I was hovering between 12 to 15 clients. And I realized that it was the way I was presenting myself. My branding was really, really bad. So what happened is I decided to invest in my brand. And this is how Local Wiz started. I was like, how can I make things that was going to look good? Like, and I listened to this guy the other day, and he was like talking about himself. He's like, I'm a mathematical whiz. I can figure this thing out. And I was like, oh, wait, you're that. I'm a marketing whiz, local whiz. And that's kind of how it started. So that's kind of how I got that name. And then I was like, I got to brand this thing heavily. What we did back then, we didn't have AI, right? So I was like, how can I do surrealistic images so I can get attention? And this is how everything started to tick on. I was working on my brand. I improved the team. I added sales. Like I started to really, really take that business seriously. And in 6 months, I was able to get it. I can't remember the exact numbers, but we were like doing 17K, something like that, 15, 17K. Oh man, I had a presentation about that, but I got it to 56. I remember this from the presentation. In 6 months, I got it to 56K a month real quick. And then, wow, it was. And then another 3 months, we were doing about 70 something. And this is where things started to break a little bit. What happened is when I got to that mark, things became very expensive for me. So, for example, if you paid a software so and so, now they want you to pay for seats and that. And I had to really restructure a lot of things. So I was hovering on that for about another 6 months or so. And then I was ready for another scale. When I got ready for the second scale, we superbed the 120 in additional 6 months. So the whole thing from decision to 120K, it was about 18 months. And it was a really, really fun. And as you know, like when you're doing so many things, there are so many opportunities, right? So then I started my plumbing and the HVAC and this and the local Dominator, all of those things. Um, the agency, for me, it was a really nice proof of concept. I wasn't, I was never really dreaming about the agency as a model, but I wanted to be, I wanted to be able to say, hey, I got to seven figures and I've done more than a million here. So I was in a place where I wanted to sustain it, and then few of my, few of my attentions my attention shifted a little bit, and then, now I have multiple businesses that are doing more than seven figures a year, which is freaking amazing. That's kind of how I started.
Was that a tough transition? I mean, there's a couple transition points in your timeline. One is going from that physicality of doing a service yourself, right? That's a big leap. And then the other leap is that overhead and that at that 70,000 point, right? Where like, is this really worth it? Should I sell? Should I keep going? Um, I've met you, Elder, a couple of years ago at local, or not local, but SEO spring training in Arizona. And my first impression with you is this is a very kind and generous person. But I would, or not but I mean, I would add on to that. Really, what it comes down to is what makes you thrive. And I think what does make you thrive is that creativity, right? And I just want to ask you, like, I mean, money is important to all of us. I get that, but I would imagine your hot button is helping small businesses, right? Can you share any stories like you've had personally with some of your not specific clients, but just generalities of taking them to the next level?
So I love money, I think, like everybody, but I'm not money oriented. I'm not. I'm a very simple in my core. You will always find me in a t-shirt. I have this thing for 2 years now. I don't care. I don't have anything fancy in a way. Like I don't believe um, in extreme materialistic. Materialistic. Does that make sense? Like, you know, I'm like, let me get my cup of coffee and have a sit in my yard, like, with my foot on my feet in the grass, like kind of guy. But for me, I will share this. Tony Robbins says that there are two motivations for people: fear and pleasure. My fear is where I came from, and that's my biggest motivation. So I'm afraid that I won't have the resources to do something and to help somebody that I care for. And I'll share with you that I was and I am blessed enough to be able to use it many times for my family and friends and anybody that I can. So that's one of the things that motivate me. Now, the other thing that you mentioned is the creativity and things of that sort. I don't see myself as that creative, um, but I do see myself as a very passionate person. So what happened is with me, because I have so much passion for something, is that I try until something breaks or it happens. I don't stop. So even with my own agency, like I've done multiple things. Like I try different things, even the software, different things. Not my first software. I failed quite a few times. But when you carry that passion, then you get that creativity, you get all those things, you become that person. Without it, and I see a lot of agencies and business owners, they do things with no passion. Their passion is to sleep. I mean, you won't be able to progress if you sleep. So now, talking about helping people, and I've done a bunch of things I'm very proud, and I won't mention any names. Anywhere from just business owners that I was able to coach and get them to different level, and even agencies. I think my biggest thing in the last several years is agencies. There's a couple of people that I know personally that I was coaching that have been following me for the past several years. That was an exact same place as I am. Exactly. They didn't know what to do. I helped them with the branding, with the marketing, with all of those things. And now they are at the place that they want to be. And for me, when I see this thing on the side, I mean, that's the best. And I mean, that's a huge blessing. That's a huge blessing to be able to help somebody like that.
Yeah. And I just want to reiterate to everybody listening. So we get a fair amount of agency owners that follow the podcast and the YouTube. Uh, if you feel you need help or coaching, go ahead and reach out to Eldar. We'll have QR codes and obviously ways to get a hold of Eldar. But I know of his agency or his coaching element for agencies. I'll probably reach out to him myself here at some point. Um, and so the other thing I wanted to throw out there too is, I think you're one of these people that looks at money as, again, you've talked about leverage a lot in terms of just, having some advantage. That's obviously what leverage is. I think you're one of these people that when you do acquire money, you use it for leverage, not so much, you may have nice things, but at the end of the day, you understand that like you need to use that as a steward in the best way you can to, leverage your business or, whether it's that or a charity or whatever the case is. At the end of the day, I think that's, if we can do that, that's obviously the best thing we want to do with money. What I wanted to pick your mind on, just kind of shifting gears a couple times here. So we're going to get to Eldar's product here, which I'm very excited about. But I'd like to have Eldar riff a little bit about where he sees search going, AI. I've had a lot of guests. This is kind of one of the main topics we all talk about because nobody truly really knows. All we can do is kind of give it a best guess. But there are people who are in a better position to guess, and Eldar is one of them. So go ahead, Eldar. Let us know what your thoughts are on the future of search and AI.
Right on. So I will start with this. One very wise king once said, "There is nothing new under the sun." There is nothing new under the sun. Let this thing marinate for a second. And let's look at today. What has really changed? Not much. And you're like, what do you mean? AI, ChatGPT, percent. Hold on. What are they? They are just a prettier, fancier search engine. That's what they are. Oh, no, we know that. What has really changed? Nothing. SEO is dead. AI is dead. Everybody's freaking out. Shiny objects. Yada, yada, yada. Nothing has changed under the sun. That's at least, from my observation for the last several years. Even now with all the AI, yeah, we have better tools, we work faster, but the concept of us as an agency stays the same. We need to optimize, we need to optimize for search engines. A year ago, it was Google only. Today, we have a few more. It's not drastically changed. Another really cool thing is that it's not drastically changed what we do on the day to day as an agency. Because in our day to day as an agency, what are the things that we need to do? We need to create great content. We need to build quality links. And we need to give these search engines what they're looking for, right? All those prominence, right? Who, where, what, all of those things. This principles has not changed since I have had my hands on my keyboard optimizing for Google. And if people not people, I'm talking about myself. Like, when we do our job well, optimizing for Google, it's also optimizing for the other search engines. Guess what? You're optimizing your website to itself, right? Like you're optimizing it as a standalone, as a component. And when it's optimized, Chat will pick it up, Perplexity will pick it up, Claude will pick it up, Gemini will pick it up, and of course Google will pick it up. So as an agency, our stuff didn't really change. The same SEO task list that I have from 2023 that I published is still relevant today. It's crazy. It's still relevant 2 years, right? And people say, well, it's dead. And it's not. Matter of fact, I actually had a good conversation with Caleb about that. And I believe that we're actually going back to the good old days with, the cetaceans as became the wild, wild west. Because here's what's happening right now in search engines. All of those great LLMs trying to figure out what Google have already forgot, right? So think about it this way. They are a search engine. Google has been doing their search engine thing since they started. All of those new stuff, they are just realizing those things. They trying to figure out how to better optimize their delivery for the user. Google have been doing this for years. So guess what's happening? They are like optimizing for ChatGPT and stuff like that. It's kind of like optimizing for Google 5 years ago. I'm like, yes, easy, like easy peasy. Like the other day, somebody asked me, it's like, hey, are you still using guest posts? Because I was telling him about that. I was like, you should do that. And he was like, what do you mean? But I like, wasn't a thing that we shouldn't use anymore? I was like, dude, the search engines love it. Like the LLMs love guest posts. So like, think about it. Like guest post was one of those things for the past, right? It's coming back. Cetaceans lost a lot of their value. They're now back. All of those things, they're now back, but we have more shiny tools to do those things. So, where I think search is going, I think it's going search everywhere. That's the biggest thing. This is also where Dominator is going. So, in the past, that's the biggest change that we have as an agency. In the past, we used to focus solely on Google because they had the majority of the share, right? Now they still have that majority. However, there is enough chunk of audience and traffic on other engines that is worth to optimize for. So we still have this big giant, but we still have all of them together, a little bit here that is worth optimizing for, which we didn't have in the past because Google was over 90% market share. Now they're like at 70, I think, or something like that. Still dominating, but not enough.
Yeah, and for that I mean, everybody's worried about all the LLM engines. I would focus what Google is to search 4 years ago. ChatGPT is to the LLMs, right? They're 70, 60% of the deal, and to try to focus on that. I would argue, at some point, I don't know when, but Google probably was an AI transition to an AI engine probably long before it was announced, right? I mean, to your point, we're already playing the game, and the thing I'm mentally focusing on is how do we how do we prove human creation of the topic, or human, um, what would you call it? Just validation. So, one of the things I threw out, to my team when we were talking about is, if you're going to do a blog, make sure you have the author's LinkedIn and Reddit or whatever profile, so Google can quickly validate that that author is in fact human. Maybe some of their stuff is semi AI or whatever, but it's whenever you can do that throughout the process. And I think I've shared this story with you that I post something in LinkedIn. It asked if I wanted to do that verified post. I said, sure. Clicked on verified. It asked me to my Clear. It went out to my Clear account, or went out to Clear. It asked for my phone number, and then it shot a picture of my face and said, okay, you're verified. So that's where the future is any, because I think AI is somewhat contaminated right now. They're wanting to clean it up and call it, and get that human, uh, evidence, whether it's through other entities, such as, let's say, the Chamber of Commerce or whatever the deal is, that you can prove that you are in fact a human and you are in fact who you say you are, and therefore that attached blog or anything else that you're putting out there is accurate. And I think that's what AI is looking for. That's what everybody's looking for right now. That's just my spin on it. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Actually, I do. So what happened is right now it's very hard for everybody, including bots, to verify different things. And what happened is, especially now with all the AI rise, it's going to be even worse. So I think that on a lot of things, they want to verify, like you had with that LinkedIn post, that it's a human that it in there that is injecting it to their engine, to their index, and all those things. I don't think that there's anything wrong with creating content made by AI and things of that sort. um, it's not a random thing. I know for a fact because we do it, and you don't have to necessarily, follow the Google, EAT, EEAT formula, right? However, here's what I see that is super important. What's super important is to create it around an entity more than ever. And when I say create more around that entity, more of a brand, brands in these days are shining more. And the reason they are shining more is because they have more authority. So if I'm, let's say a plumber that is just starting and I want to get more rankings, maybe I'm an agency that is working on the client side. The things that I would do first is focus on the brand identity elements of things and all of the resource and assets in order to establish that very, very strongly and dominate that brand for those keywords, right? For that brand keywords. So in many cases, I see agencies start, when they start a campaign, they straightly go for their money keyword, like in that matter, straight for plumber. That is a little bit wrong in my mind, at least. The reason I say it's a little bit wrong is because you want to add, the top floor for the building and get those lucrative keyword without the foundation. The foundation is the brand awareness, that thing. So when we start, SEO for new clients or whatever, if it's my site, the first thing we do, we look at all the brand identity, the assets, all of those things, and we mainly build content around the brand, and then links around the brand, and then we go for the topic. So we establish that brand identity, then we build more things on top of it. Moving forward with search everywhere, and because there is so much junk content, lead spam, lead sites are, legion and spamming those. I think that the engines are right now looking for those strong brands. And I'll share another thing. As an agency focusing on a legion, and I do this a lot, you want to take that legion and you want to make it a brand. That's the secret. You want to make it look so damn good that people will get confused if this is just a spammy site or is it a real business. And then the LLMs get confused as well because you give them all the signals that they need to understand this is a brand. And that's the core, of for us when we start, new campaigns in 2025 and what we're going to do in 26.
So when you talk about building that base and that brand, because here's the challenge, and you probably have this challenge too when clients come to you. They need this, they need this leads, new business. They needed it yesterday, right? So, I mean, what kind of a mental timeline or realistic timeline, should they be prepared for with a strategy like this, in terms of, hey, it's going to take us X amount of time to build that base, then it's going to take us X amount of time to go after those money keywords.
Yeah, so it's a question of resources, right? So let's break it down. Let's say my business, right? And let's say blue plumbing, whatever. And my budget is $1,000 a month. Okay, so what can I do with this budget? I can buy maybe a few decent PRs I can spend a few hours on somebody that will write content of different things. But essentially, I'll be able to do, let's just say for the sake of it, 5 tasks. However, if you take the same business and now you have, instead of 1,000, you have 10,000. So instead of 5 tasks, now you got 50. So the question for the time, it's also correlated with the amount of resources and effort you put in. What I see today is businesses, they call me too with this, I'm sure to you and other agencies, that's kind of love it. I think it's a little bit of a sickness in this industry where a business owner is at a point where they started a new business, but they have no resources to make it happen. So, how do you want to fly from LA to New York with $50 worth of gas? It's not going to happen. So, here, there are only two ways that they can do it, right? One is to spend money, invest money, and then pour more thing into it. If you do things right, usually depends what you do, from a month to 6 months, you should start seeing good results and a return on your investment. Depends what you do. We can get into those things, but that's the timeline. If you spend more money, maybe you can do it faster, right? And um, maybe I can share a few examples. But the other thing that you can do is to do what's called sweat equity, right? Or sweat your way to get those leads. Here is the deal: you are, or Joe is a new plumber, a new HVAC guy. He want to get leads. He doesn't have any money, right? It doesn't mean that he's not entitled to get leads, right? He have to put in the effort and the resources that his time is able to buy. Remember what I was doing earlier? I was working from Monday till a Friday, or Friday I was doing the garage, whatever. But I was working 3 to 4 days on the business, and I was working in the business. So I was putting my time in. That's the thing, and my time was valued hike more than what I would pay in, an agency. So I was able to move faster. But what I'm trying to say is this: businesses today that are looking to grow their business, they should know two things. You can do it in two ways. You can pay for it or you can sweat for it. You have to choose what you want to do, this or this, right? This or this. You can do both, but that's the ways. If you want to sweat for it, great. If it's a plumber, I don't know, go to a restaurant, do flyers, whatever it is. If you want to pay for it, hire an agency and give them a good budget to be able to get you to rank on Google, which is an expensive thing. The reason behind it is because people have been doing this for years before you, and you want us to bypass them at the corner, okay, and get you the traffic that's currently going to them. This costs money. They spend money on this thing for years. Because they're number one, all those things there. They got that. So realistically, what I'm trying to say is that people can start and get leads today, tomorrow, but they have to do the things that will be able to get them those. I'll share, for example, I talk to different people. We have in our agency, we have ways to use ads to generate calls for plumbing, HVAC, garage, locksmith, a bunch of other ones, like pretty instantaneously. Within a week, we have our proprietary way we can get it done. But it's costly, because if you set up a Google AdWords to get jobs for plumbers, you're going to pay about $80 to $100 per click. So if somebody, and here's the kicker, you only get 1 out of 5. So for about 5 clicks, you get one call. So if you don't know how to do those things, very cutthroat, you're gonna spend so much money on that, right? So leads don't fall from the sky. So I guess my recommendation for somebody that starts today and want to see leads coming in, you have to choose your battles and you have to understand what you can do. If you cannot afford it, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But you better get your ass to fucking work. Don't don't sit on the sofa and think the leads are gonna come to you. They're not. They're just not.
Right. Well, you're an immigrant, okay? So you came here with nothing, and you knew you had to work for it. Unfortunately, second, third generations, and that includes me, we want it for nothing. We want to work 8 hours and that's it. And But you bring up a good point. Like a lot of companies, and I'm sure this is true of you, they'll come with you with no reviews on their GBP or a 3.0 or a 4.0. And I actually cut them off and I just say, hey, come back to me when you've gotten your reviews to 4.7 or higher, and you've gotten a lot of them, because anything we do isn't going to convert. I mean, it might, but you're not going to get return on your money. And you'd be surprised how many people never come back, or you look, later, like 6 months later, they haven't done anything. And so, if you're not willing to help yourself, there's only so much we can do, right? And so, to your point, I think the takeaway is, you know, depending on market and competitiveness, it can cost probably realistically the very lowest, $1,000 a month, up to, obviously personal injury attorney is going to be spending $20,000 a month because of the compete. It's not like, yes, they have cases and they can afford it, but it's, guess what? There's 100 other attorneys that want that business too, and they're all willing to pay, X amount. So it pushes all that up. I think those are great.
Bob, can I procrastinate on one thing though that's super important to me?
Yeah.
So yes, I'm an immigrant. I got to the States when I was 22. By the way, I'm an American, but still I wasn't born there. I started my life, at my adult life over there. And now I'm in Israel. So what I gone through and the stuff that I see is really, really eye opening, because I was able to see it in Israel and I was able to see it in the States. And I was also able to see it among my immigrant friends and among different immigrants. If it's from India, if it's from Mexico, because I was in Arizona, I've seen a lot of them. But I will share this. Now I'm in Israel, right? So I don't think it was because of that, the fact that I was an immigrant. I think that for me, there's a fire in my bones that pushed me because of that fear I was telling you about earlier. I cannot sleep enough. And the reason I can't is because that fire in my bones, my blood boils as I speak to you right now, about doing stuff, about moving, about being active. Today we just finished the holiday yesterday in Israel. It's like a month of holiday. Kid you not, it's mind-blowing thing. I've never knew it because I'm so used to work. And I was in the States, so I didn't even feel those things. But in Israel, in the month of September, October, there is about 18 days off, because holiday, everything is in a month span. I didn't take any time off. When everybody was taking days off, I was working, and I was working 3 times harder. I was compensating for everybody. And this is another thing. While everybody is asleep, I'm working. I'm only sleeping 4 to 6 hours a day. That's all I do. All I do. Sometimes if I get a crash, I can get to 7, but my normal days is somewhere between 4 to 6. And I got this habit because it's passionate. I wake up and I'm like, my fingers are like, I'm like, I gotta get to work. Like I like mumbling with myself. It's so burning, and I think, and I know that it's because of different things that I've gone through. And what I wish for is people that they have goals, to have that passion. Because when you have that passion, when you desire something so much that you're willing to give up for sleep, that you're willing to give up for time with your kid, when you're willing to give up time with your loved ones, and you want to get to that damn goal, you're getting that damn goal. And I have goals, and I'm going to do everything I can to get to those goals. I don't care. I have a kid. I only see my kid a few hours a week. Somebody asked me the other day, why don't you see him more? You're a business owner. You can. Yes, I can. I can set it in my schedule, and I can easily clear as much time as I want. But here's the thing, I love my kid, but I want to work as hard as I can to meet my goals and my objectives so I can get him what I want to give him. And that's the thing. He's a baby, right? He's a year and a half. I don't think he's going to remember too much of those days. So I want to focus on those things. And in my mind, I have till a certain age for him where things needs to change. So I'm working double time. And the other day, like literally, she was here, my partner. And she was like, "Hey, I see you're working. I'm just gonna go." I was like, "Great." Literally, I didn't feel like great. I was like, I was a little happy with myself. I was like, "Yes, more time, more time." Like, I don't want to spend my evening watching TV. What does it do? What will watching TV will do for my damn life?
And you're at a season, you can be out of balance. You know what I mean? I'm my kids are gone, so I'm out of balance in that. I'm putting those hours in. I want to get them through college, and my wife's okay with that. So I'm out of balance. I'm just at a season of life. That's going to change for you as your son grows, and obviously. But I would argue this: I don't think as parents we put a lot of quality time with our kids. We basically in American culture, what that is you sit in front of the TV and maybe you watch a TV show together, right? And that's your quality time. Or you're constantly going to sporting events, and they're in every freaking sporting event known to man, and you're going broke with all the fees for that, and then you're fighting with your wife because you guys never have time together because you're traveling to all these different deals. At any rate, but yeah, I mean, and it all involves hope too, right? So you're not going to have the passion. Nobody's going to have a passion for anything if there isn't hope. And the hope, you've got to have the hope that like this is my goal. Like when I'm 38 or whatever, and my son is 6 and 8, it's like I am working 4 hours a day, and I'm out, working, doing stuff, good things with my son or whatever the case is, or traveling with him or whatever. So, I mean, it is there's going to be a shift. We're already in it. Where post COVID, people are like, "What am I doing?" And you're going to see a level of entrepreneurship that is unlike any other time. And that at least people are going to try it. But the thing that we're missing is that immigrant spirit of like they've just burned the ship. The ship got burnt. I'm here. Like nobody's going to help me, and the government is going to start, closing all the subsidies here for that, and we're all going to have to grind, and then we're going to have to create again, figure out creating value for everybody, whatever it is that you're doing. So, um, I really like your spirit, Elder, and like I said, it's one that definitely resonates with me, and I need to become that person myself.
Oh, I'm super happy. So this is great. This is helpful. I'll share one thing that my dad told me. My dad told me, when I was young. He says, "Work as hard as you can and as much as you can, because at some point you won't want to do that anymore." And he was actually here earlier, and I told him I'm going in on this thing in, and it's yeah, it's a little emotional because one of the things for me that really makes it nice is when I see my dad and he's super happy with me, with what I do and how I do it and the things that I care for. And, the other day he says, like, I really, I enjoy looking at you because you're active, you're doing. Like, he never get to my house and see me, on the sofa watch TV, like watching TV. He never, like, I had somebody else like, how come you don't have my brain is still in PS3, but PS5. See how old I don't play. Like I don't do video games or things of that sort because what does it do? So that's what my dad said to me many, many years ago, and I'm very super happy that I took his advice because I see. How would I put it in a way? I see what I was able to accomplish, and I see what other people are able to accomplish, and I know where I'm at. And I'm very happy with this. I'm not happy with myself because I have different ambitions and I fight with myself to get those ambitions. But if I do, then I'm I'm in a good spot. Let's put it that way. Like I'm in a good spot. So and I couldn't get to that spot if I would party all the time or waste my days and things of that sort. For example, I barely listen to music. Interesting. Ask me why. Because I don't see the point if it's not necessarily. I do listen to music when I want to get uplift and different, but I don't spend a lot of time. So usually if I do listen to something, whatever, if it's the car, the gym, whatever it is, it will be a book, it will be an audiobook. So I always have books running in my ear, you know. And what most people do in their car, for example, they listen to music, So it's good. It's good for the energy. I'm not saying it's not, but they don't consume. Like I'm trying to consume different things that gives me that uplifting. So like I'm just listening on a book for Steve Jobs, something really cool, and the stuff that I hear, it's like I'm in a techno party. Like I kid you not, when he's talking about the story and I've learned something, I'm like, like sometimes I'm like I feel like I'm dancing to those things. Like it's music to me. So yeah, yeah,
No, it is about, what you put in your head, right? And that's pretty much what you put in your head controls your attitude. So, and that's probably any self-help guru would tell you that. And you have to be careful and you have to curate what you put in your head. And you can't necessarily, you don't want to go down a road of, not to pick on Fox News, but nothing but Fox News, right? Or CNN or whatever. You want to get that blend of knowledge and then learn from the people you want to be that have that, great attitude that are moving in the places, that you want to work in. And I think it's okay to have downtime. The key, I think, is what are you doing with that downtime? Are you doing something that's even mildly productive? So over the last 3 or 4 years, my sons and I have restored cars together and then sold them in order to help supplement their college income, right? Or college expenses. So, we've gone down the line of certain BMWs and we've gained knowledge on them and we've, worked side by side and other ventures, so to speak. I'm an avid golfer, but I golf now once a year. Just because your point, what it's okay to relax, but at the end of the day, you just blew 4 hours, right? And that's okay. I'm not like condemning anybody, but if you can, one advice I'd give as a parent with your son is try to get a hobby that's productive for him in the future, whether it's woodworking, whether it's, showing him how to work with his hands, and then potentially some kind of pseudo venture that he can make something and then sell it and understand like this is, you always want to be productive, but, and if you're going to relax, do something that, could lead to something, right? If you're going to have that hobby, that's just my 2 cents. But the whole sitting in front of the PS5 or whatever and mouth breathing for 4 hours at a time really isn't helping anybody. Or just constantly doing sports. If there's no DNA in your family that's going to show like this kid's going to be a basketball player or a hockey player or a football player, you might not want to drop 20 grand into sports, right? It's just kind of a no brainer. Let them have fun up to a certain age, but then you gotta, as a parent, you've got to plant that vision. You've got to understand what their strengths and weaknesses are, and then exploit the heck out of that strength. And that's the best thing you can do. And you've honored your dad, with your efforts. And as you're going to find out as a parent, that's like an incredible thing that you can do to do what you've done. And he's got to be extremely proud. And it's one less thing, as you know, as a parent, you worry about a million things about your children. Okay. That's one less thing he has to worry about. Life is very tough and has a lot of pain. And that is just one less pain point he has to worry about. Right. And he can worry about checkers at noon with his buddies, type of a deal. Right. I just want to point out, we're going to have QR codes, in one of the corners to get in contact with Eldar and his product. So I can't say enough about his product. We're going to do a part 2 to this. Unfortunately, Eldar will not be in it. It'll be TJ and I. We're going to go through. We'll do a demonstration on Local Dominator. So, Eldar, do you have any parting thoughts or any words before we wrap up this podcast?
yeah. Just a couple of things. I want to talk to everybody to watch this. No matter what you do it with great passion. Be focused. Get it done. Set your objective. Make it happen, and use Local Dominator in the process. All right. It's literally the best, most affordable, most accurate Google Maps rank tracker. And soon it's going to be a whole lot more. So stay tuned.
Appreciate that, Eldar, and hopefully we'll have you on. I know you're going to do some revisions of Local Dominator, so we'll probably have you back on for that in the future. Thanks again for your time. Again, reach out to Eldar if you have any needs as an agency, and if you have any needs as a individual business too. But for now, thanks again, and we'll connect in the future. Thanks for watching Local SEO Tactics podcast. If you found this episode valuable, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss new insights. We've got more expert tips on SEO, AEO, and digital marketing strategies coming your way every week. Want to dive deeper? Check out our other videos right here, or grab our free resources in the description below. Thanks again for tuning in, and remember, staying ahead online starts right here.